It's so nice to be here in New Vrindaban. We had a 10-hour drive here to get to this place, and most of the way we were hearing Gauravani's As Kindred Spirits CD, because that's the only thing that will keep my 4-year-old daughter and 14-month son quiet while we drive, because they're fully absorbed once that starts. So it's such a we are always so grateful to be here in New Vrindaban. That place where Srila Prabhupada said is not different than Vrindavan Dham, and especially to be here during the month of Kartik, this very auspicious month. We were trying to decide, should we come or should we not, because of the long drive, and then we remember that we were all told to go to Vrindavan during the month of Kartik, and since it's not possible to go to the India Vrindavan right now, we should go to New Vrindavan and become fortunate. So thank you for arranging this wonderful festival, all the organizers, Jai Krishna Prabhu, Mother Anuradha, all the wonderful devotees here for so kindly welcoming all the devotees and all the guests. Today's topic is relishing the holy name. And since we're starting the 24-hour kirtan, we thought what could be a nicer topic than discussing how to, or trying to relish the holy name. And so, before we begin this topic, I just wanted to chant the prayers to the 6 Goswamis to receive their mercy. Krishna kirtana gana nartana paro Premamritam ho nidhi Dhira dhira jana priyo priyakaro Nirmatsaro pujito Shri Chaitanya kripa bharo bhuvi bhuvo Bhara vahantarako Vande rupa sanatano raghujugo Shri Jiva Gopalako. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the 6 Goswamis, namely Srila Rupa Goswami, Shri Sanatan Goswami, Shri Raghunath Bhatta Goswami, Shri Raghunath Das Goswami, Shri Jiva Goswami, and Shri Gopala Bhatta Goswami, who are always engaged in chanting the holy name of Krishna and dancing. They are just like the ocean of love of God, and they are popular both with the gentle and with the ruffians, because they are not envious of anyone. Whatever they do, they are all pleasing to everyone, and they are fully blessed by Lord Chaitanya. Thus they are engaged in missionary activities meant to deliver all the conditioned souls in the material world. So I wanted to chant this short prayer to the 6 Goswamis because it describes how they are continuously absorbed in chanting the holy names of Krishna, and also because I wanted to start our discussion by reminding ourselves about the 6 characteristics of pure devotional service that is found in Srila Rupa Goswami's Nectar of Devotion. And before I begin this, I just want to beg for the blessings of the senior devotees, Vaishnavas present here, like Mother Malati and Gaura Shakti Prabhu, Sankarshan Prabhu, and the others for their blessings. Also chant the prayers. Om Jnanam Timarandhasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadammayam Dadati Swapadantikam. So we are short in time, we just have half an hour, so going quickly. We have 6 characteristics of pure devotional service. And these 6 characteristics, they also apply to the chanting of the holy name, which is our primary process of devotional service. The first one is Kleshagni, how the chanting of the holy names frees us from all material suffering. The second is Shubhada. The chanting of the holy name of the Lord is all auspicious. So things in this world are auspicious for some people, but not for others. But the chanting is such that it's auspicious for everyone, for anyone and everyone. Today, if some law is passed, it favors one group of people, but the other group of people suffer as a result of it. Auspiciousness is limited to a certain group of people, but there's one thing in this world that is auspicious for everyone. That is the chanting of the holy name of Krishna. The third characteristic of pure devotional service and of purely chanting the holy name is moksha lagutakrit. It makes the happiness of liberation very small, just like the water in the calf's hoof print. Very paltry, very small. The joy, the happiness, the pleasure derived in chanting the holy name of Krishna is greater than the pleasure of liberation, of moksha. And we see this in the lives of the great souls like Haridas Thakur and others, that they showed this, that when they're absorbed in their chanting, there's nothing in this world that attracted them, because they experienced a happiness and pleasure that was far beyond any other happiness. Sudurlabha, it is rarely achieved. So it is something very wonderful, very rare. Sandrananda Visheshatma, it brings incalculable bliss. Its bliss, its happiness, not only derides liberation, but it is so wonderful that one cannot calculate the bliss that one receives in this chanting of the holy name. Unfortunately, His Holiness Chandramauli Maharaj was not able to join us for this festival. He was planning to be here. But one time I was on the Polish tour, and I was with him on the Polish tour. And it was at the end of the day when they were packing up the whole festival, and all the devotees had gone chanting the whole day. And when they were packing everything, then they played this very beautiful, recording tape of the chanting of the Mahamantra. And I still remember, it was something, maybe Lord Chaitanya's mercy at that time, the devotees had worked the whole day. But when they played it, I think it was Bibi Govinda Maharaj singing, and it was just very, very beautiful, very powerful. And everyone just stopped in their tracks. They're just listening to it for a minute, including Maharaj. Like something was in the air. Everyone felt it. And after that, he said that if we can just taste one drop of the ecstasy derived by chanting Krishna's holy names, then there's nothing in this world that would attract us. Then there's nothing, we would not even be able to sort of ascertain that happiness, that bliss in that chanting. So we have no idea of what this happiness is. Right now, if we get relief from suffering, which is the first characteristic of devotional service, we feel greatly elated that the chanting is working. But the fifth characteristic is Sandrananda Visheshatma, incalculable bliss. And the final one is Sri Krishna Karshani. That when pure devotional service is so selfless, so unmotivated, and so much done out of love for Krishna, it attracts Krishna. It controls Krishna, Sri Krishna Karshani. So Krishna means the all-attractive person. Krishna, it's the same word, akarshati. Krishna, he attracts the whole world. So here it's saying Sri Krishna Karshani. It attracts the attractor of the entire world, which is very much also the theme of Damodar Leela, of Kartik. That how the love of the devotees controls Krishna. It attracts Krishna. He who attracts the whole world becomes attracted by the love of his mother Yashoda, by unalloyed pure devotional service. So what is unique in these 6 characteristics of pure devotional service is that these 6 characteristics are describing 3 levels of happiness. In the Nectar of Devotion, Srila Prabhupada points this out, that Rupa Goswami is describing these 6 characteristics, and they're referring to 3 out of the 6. 3 are just 3 levels of happiness. The first one is Shubhada. It is all auspicious. It brings auspiciousness to the whole world. The second is Moksha Lagutakrit. It's derives the happiness of liberation. And the final stage is Sandrananda Visheshatma, this stage of incalculable condensed bliss, which is very rarely achieved on the stage of Prema Bhakti. So the devotional service is very clearly connected with the experience of great happiness, great joy. And this is something that has always intrigued me, because Srila Prabhupada also, one of his very famous phrases, you could say his theme phrases, is chant and be happy. So he's saying, chant Hare Krishna and you will be happy. We will all be happy if we chant Hare Krishna. So one of the results of chanting is that we relish it. We become very, very happy. We become very satisfied from within. And this seems many times to be a contradiction, because we are told that we don't do devotional service for our personal happiness. We don't do devotional service to become very, very happy. The devotee is not seeking his own happiness. At the same time, it seems like we are chanting and we are becoming happy. So, is the desire for happiness compatible with prema or love for God? Is it okay to chant to become happy? If we're chanting to become happy, then we're not performing pure devotional service, it seems, because we are chanting for happiness. But if we are not chanting to be happy, why would we chant? I mean, we're in this miserable material world and we want relief from this misery. Therefore we come to Krishna. So if we are not chanting to become happy, why would we chant? So this seems like a contradiction. How every stage of devotional service, the result is, Rupa Goswami is telling us, Srila Prabhupada is telling us, is happiness and greater happiness and more condensed happiness. But on the other hand, the devotee is not seeking any happiness, simply the pleasure of Krishna. So how do these two things come together? How can we be seeking happiness and at the same time be doing pure devotional service? So actually, Jiva Goswami, in his Sandarbhas and his Priti Sandarbha, he answers this very question. He responds to this question. And he begins by asking us, what is love for Krishna? What is prema or love? What is the definition of love? And he gives us a very nice definition, one that I find very revealing or answering our question. In his Priti Sandarbha, Jiva Goswami defines love as a sukha, a special kind of joy or state of mind characterized by joy or happiness. So the first characteristic of love is a special kind of joy or happiness, when the mind becomes characterized or fully absorbed in this happiness. But then there's a second thing, and that is priyata. So the first one by itself, just sukha, can also be applied to lust. Lust is also the pursuit of one's own happiness, or the feeling of happiness. But what differentiates lust from love is that there's sukha, but there's also priyata. And this has 3 features. And sorry, this is a little technical, but then we'll be past it. So please don't mind. So this priyata has 3 parts to it. Priyata means an attitude of benevolence toward the object of one's love. So when a person feels love towards someone, if it is genuine love, it will have priyata, and the first characteristic of priyata is an attitude of benevolence towards the object of one's love. The second is a dynamic will to desire that which is favorable or dear to the object from its point of view. So the desire to do what is favorable from the object of our love from their point of view. So to serve Krishna from Krishna's point of view, what is pleasing or pleasurable to Krishna? So Prabhupada, many times he says that we chant for Krishna's pleasure. So we chant in a way that is pleasurable to Krishna. And the third one is a state of mind resulting from the experience that the efforts of love have actually resulted in the joy of the object of our love. So it's a state of mind in which we experience great happiness, we experience great joy from realizing the joy of the object of our love. So the object of love is feeling so happy, so blissful, so pleased. And that sight, the experience of seeing Krishna happy, gives us great happiness. And that is the state of mind which results from seeing Krishna's happiness. So now Jiva Goswami says, when we put these two things together, that is sukha, which is a special kind of knowledge or state of mind characterized by joy and happiness, when we put sukha together with priyata, these three features, then what do we get? We get a definition of love that Srila Prabhupada gives us many times in his books. Sukha and priyata together become love is the happiness one feels by seeing the happiness of the beloved. So pure love of God is by definition characterized by joy or happiness. Love for Krishna cannot be separated from happiness. This is why in the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Susukhum kartum avyayam. It is joyfully performed. But what is that happiness? The nature of that happiness changes. It is the happiness one feels by seeing the happiness of the beloved. It is when sukha and priyata come together. One is feeling happy. Chant and be happy. One will feel happy. One does perform devotional service to become happy. But that happiness is the happiness that we are seeking is a real happiness, that the happiness of Krishna. The happiness that we experience when we see Krishna pleased. Krishna's pleasure becomes our pleasure. The priyata becomes the object, the vishaya, and the sukha is present in the ashraya. The sukha is the happiness present in oneself, which is the same that is present in the object of our love. And this very famous verse in the Padma Puran, which Srila Prabhupada quotes many times, describes this very thing. Nama chintamani Krishna chaitanya rasa vigraha purna shuddho nitya mukta abhinnat nama namina. It is also said in the Padma Purana, the name of the Lord fulfills all desires like Chintamani. It fulfills all desires. It is the touchstone. It is the very form of Krishna. It is full of consciousness and rasa. It is complete, pure, and eternally liberated. This is because of the non-difference of the name and Krishna. And then Jiva Goswami, since we're talking about him, I have his commentary here. He says the name is called Chintamani because it bestows all things a person may desire. This is so because it is a swarupa of Krishna. The other words describe Krishna. The name is the same as Krishna because it is non-different from him. The meaning here is that one tattva of eternity, knowledge, bliss and rasa appears in two forms, the rupa and nama. If one is particularly inquisitive, one can consult the chapter on Bhagavan in the Bhagavad Sandarbha. And then on Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur similarly writes, chanting fulfills everyone's desires. Nirvidyamananam means those who are free from all desires, even from the desire of liberation. Thus it refers to the devotees. Ichatam means those who have desires for svarga or moksha. Yoginam refers to the Atma Ramas who are liberated. This is the process for the devotees. Though for those desiring material benefits and liberation, and for those who have been liberated, the process has been ascertained as suitable for both the sadhaka and the siddha. being both the means and the goal. So chanting of Krishna's holy names is that touchstone. It is that wonderful gift that fulfills all of our desires, such that we become fully satisfied. We become fully happy. And Srila Prabhupada's statement, "Chant and be happy," is therefore a literal statement that whatever is lacking within us, whatever shortcoming we have, whatever desire we have that is unfulfilled, becomes fulfilled by the chanting of Krishna's holy names. We become happy, become fully satisfied by this chanting. Of course, it also purifies our heart in the process, and therefore we don't desire the material things that we wanted. It makes us fully satisfied by giving us a higher taste, by a spiritual happiness, Sandrananda Visheshatma, an incalculable bliss that's much higher than the material happiness we desire. And therefore it is fully satisfying. I just like to end with the point that Srila Prabhupada makes in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, that how on this point that even those who have no desires, who are the pure devotees of the Lord, relish this holy name. The greatest devotees being the residents of Vrindaban. And Srila Prabhupada specifically mentions that this chanting of the holy name of Krishna is non-different than hearing the sound of Krishna's flute. And I just happened to come by this purport in the Chaitanya Charitamrita recently, so I wanted to mention this, this chanting, this Maha Mantra is not something ordinary. If we chant it nicely, if we chant it purely, then we are actually hearing the sound of Krishna's flute. And this sound of Krishna's flute, in the spiritual world, it drowns all the residents of Vrindavan in an ocean of sweetness. And in the interest of time, I won't read all this, but the whole Vrindavan is mad after the sound of Krishna's flute. As we know, Venu Gita, it's the chapter that describes how everything stops in Vrindavan Dham when they start to hear Krishna's flute. The gopis become maddened by it, but even the cows and the trees and the rivers, they become maddened by the sound of Krishna's flute. Very beautiful verses are there in the Bhagavatam. Using their upraised ears as vessels, the cows are drinking the nectar of the flute's song flowing out of Krishna's mouth. The calves, their mouths full of milk from their mother's moist nipples, stand still as they take Govinda within themselves through their tear-filled eyes and embrace him within their hearts. So the Bhagavatam is describing how everyone in Vrindavan Dham is in touch with Krishna through the sound of his flute. They are all missing Krishna, but when he plays his flute, they all take him within their hearts. They all experience him. Krishna sort of shares himself to every bird, every tree, every blade of grass in Vrindavan, simply by the sound of his flute. And in this way, no one feels disconnected from the Lord. Of course, out of the love for Krishna, they're also connected with Krishna. But especially through this flute song, it's described how the Yamuna river begins to overflow, and she takes the lotuses from that Yamuna river and offers them to Krishna. The birds, they stand still on the tree tops, and they are on the branches but upside down because they lose consciousness of the external reality, and they're holding on to the branches, hearing on to Krishna's flute song. So in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Prabhupada writes in Madhya Leela 21, 144 purport, he says, the vibration of Krishna's flute is always prominent in the ears of the gopis. Naturally, they cannot hear anything else. Constant remembrance of the holy sound of Krishna's flute keeps them enlightened and enlivened, and they do not allow any other sound to enter their ears. Since their attention is fixed on Krishna's flute, they cannot divert their minds to any other subject. In other words, a devotee who has heard the sound of Krishna's flute forgets to talk or hear of any other subject. This vibration of Krishna's flute is represented by the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. A serious devotee of the Lord who chants and hears this transcendental vibration becomes so accustomed to it that he cannot divert his attention to any subject matter not related to Krishna's blissful characteristics and paraphernalia. So this wonderful sound that we all aspire to hear one day, by Krishna's mercy, by Srila Prabhupada's mercy, is the vibration of the sound vibration of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And this has been confirmed by many acharyas. Prabhupada very often he quotes this song by Narottam Das Thakur that says, Golokera Premadhana Harinama Sankirtana. That love for Krishna in Goloka has appeared in this material world, has descended in the form of the Harinam Sankirtan. This Sankirtan Yajna, which we are about to embark on. And this is the only remedy. The only remedy is the Harinam Sankirtan, Srila Prabhupada's translation. The chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, which is imported from the spiritual world. So these days, all the shipping lines are stopped. We're not getting food in the grocery stores. All the imports have been stopped. But the import from the spiritual world, the Harinam Sankirtan, is still coming. That has not stopped. And that has been imported from Golok Vrindaban. How unfortunate I am that I have no attraction for this. So we have been given the greatest gift, which is this holy name of Krishna, which is directly descended from the spiritual world. We have been given the highest happiness, the greatest bliss in this chanting of the holy name of Krishna. And all we need to do is now take advantage of it. It's very unfortunate that we have no attraction. After an hour we want to get up and leave, or we lose our attention to the chanting. But if we simply chant, we will be happy. Chant and be happy. If we simply chant, we will experience the sound of Krishna's flute. If we simply chant, we will find the remedy. This is the only remedy, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra. And there's this very wonderful class by His Holiness Bhakti Chaitanya Swami, where he has the 3 laws of good chanting. And those 3 laws are, the first one is chant attentively. The second one is chant attentively. And the third one is chant attentively. So this chanting is not a musical performance. It is not simply a social gathering. It is not simply something to attend when we are wanting to relax. But this chanting, we can take the full benefit of it when we are chanting with full attention, when we are chanting in great humility, begging the Lord to please purify us, to please give us His mercy in this wonderful month of Kartik. And this chanting is given to us by the great souls, by the great devotees of the Lord. So also remembering that we are chanting only by their mercy. And this on this point of happiness, actually, Prabhupada makes this point that this is the difference between a Sahaja and a genuine devotee of the Lord. He makes the distinction. He says that a Sahaja is one who has attraction to chanting the holy names of the Lord, but does not perform that chanting in a way that is pleasing to Krishna, but rather is pleasing to himself or herself. The happiness is for one's own self. I'm pleasing for my own pleasure. I'm chanting for my own happiness. But a devotee of the Lord is chanting in a way that is pleasing to Krishna. He's chanting while trying to follow the regulated principles. He's chanting while taking shelter of the great devotees of the Lord who can reveal it to them. He's chanting for Krishna's pleasure. So when we chant with attention and we chant for Krishna's pleasure, then we get the chance to relish the holy name. Something that if we could do, only if we could just do this, our life would be successful. So I'll stop at this point. We have about 5 minutes left, and if someone has a comment or a question, then we can discuss this further. Thank you.
So how do we know that Krishna is pleased? He said we should derive happiness from Krishna's happiness. How do we know he is pleased?
So the question is, how do we know if Krishna is pleased by our chanting? One answer that I've heard that is given is that we are all part and parcel of Krishna, right? So we're all like branches or twigs of a tree, and that tree is Krishna. And so, if Krishna is feeling happiness, if Krishna is feeling satisfied by our chanting, then we will also feel satisfied. Right? Because if we water the tree, if we give water to the roots of a tree, the tree becomes very pleased, and automatically the twigs and all the leaves become also very pleased. So when we're actually satisfying Krishna, then we also will feel very satisfied. We'll feel very, internally we'll feel a great sense of conviction and happiness. Of course, our mind may trick us, and we may think, I'm feeling so happy, and Krishna must be happy. And this is why, the second point is that we know that Krishna is happy when Krishna's devotees are happy, right? So we can know that we have pleased Krishna when Krishna's devotees, especially our advanced devotees, they are feeling happy with our service. So everything that we do in Krishna consciousness, we do under the guidance of the great devotees of the Lord, and in this way we know that Krishna is pleased by this because I'm following in the footsteps of these great souls. I'm trying to make them happy. Amito Kangal Krishna Krishna Boli Dhayatava Pachi Pachi. That this beautiful song says that I am useless. I don't even have the power to chant the holy name. We actually cannot even chant the holy name. We don't have that power, that strength. But I'm able to chant this simply because I'm running after you, O Vaishnav Thakur. I'm running after you, calling out Krishna, Krishna. So it's only by the mercy of the great devotees that we get the chance to even chant. And it's by their mercy that the holy name reveals itself to us. So one way that we relish the holy name, since that's our topic today, is by avoiding the offenses against the holy name. By glorifying the devotees, not offending them, by serving the holy name in different ways. So in this way, our service and our chanting are both connected, and then it becomes satisfying to Krishna. Any other comments or questions? Yes.
Thank you so much. I am still not clear. I believe that what you said, that we can desire to be happy while chanting, right? That was is that what you said?
Well, the soul naturally desires happiness. It is a pleasure-seeking living entity. Satchit Ananda is a characteristic of Lord Krishna, and therefore part and parcel of it. The soul is always seeking pleasure. But what pleasure it is seeking changes. It's seeking the happiness of Krishna. It's seeking Krishna's happiness, and that becomes the soul's happiness. So especially, at least on my level, I cannot say that I'm not seeking happiness, right? I'm seeking pleasure. Once we are absorbed in love of God, we may not even think about happiness, right? We're just thinking about Krishna's pleasure. And that pleasure is giving us the highest happiness. But at this stage, at least, we are seeking happiness. I mean, we are miserable in our material life, and spiritual life is the perfect alternative. But what is the happiness that we are seeking? That is what is changing. We're seeking now Krishna's happiness. We're seeking real happiness. We're seeking real happiness, which is finding... we're seeking love of God, which is the happiness one feels by seeing Krishna's happiness.
So, does this topic is related to this prayer which I've been always wondering, which is actually our Brahmacharya, right, Das Thakur. Now he is praying here for the nectar of the holy names. And when I'm reading this prayer, I always think, I'm sorry to be now critical, but to me, I'm like, this seems like a little selfish. I want to relish, he's trying to relish. So he's not talking about pleasing Krishna, he's praying. Whatever you do with me, feed me with the nectar of your names. So
Yes.
it almost seems that he wants something for himself. So I was always trying how I can understand this.
Yes.
And that's your topic.
Yes, because it was a big question in my mind for some time. Like it seems, how can I make sense of this, right? We're reading these verses, these prayers, that the great acharyas are seeking the nectar of the holy name. And, like Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, that spiritual life is honesty. It begins with honesty. So to be honest with myself, I am seeking happiness. This is why, Krishna consciousness is the best alternative. Because there's this great joy that we feel in our chanting. And if I was not feeling it, would I keep doing it? I don't know. Because I'm not very spiritually advanced, I don't know. So Rupa Goswami here is describing that no, love of God is fully compatible with the greatest happiness. But the quality or nature of that happiness changes. So, yes. Yes, thank you. Thank you for that comment.
Prabhuji, I think, so it's I don't know how to say this. So we do feel happiness, whether it's a secondary or a primary process. It's a byproduct or primary process.
Yes. Well, Krishna's pleasure is their highest pleasure. I see, sorry, yes, I should have tried. Okay. Yes, so the question is, can you repeat it again? Sorry, I was going to say it.
So we do feel happiness ultimately, whether it's a primarily for our selfish intent or as secondary byproduct of Krishna's happiness.
Yes. So the point is that we do feel happiness in chanting the holy name, whether it's for us or if it's for Krishna, and the happiness is a byproduct. But see, when we feel happiness for ourselves, that's not real happiness. Then we're not feeling real happiness. And we come back to that pastime of Narada Muni and the dust of Krishna and the gopis, where Narada Muni goes in search for the dust of the devotees to cure Krishna's headache. And so he goes to different devotees and they all say, I cannot give my dust because I'll go to hell if I give it. And I don't want my dust on Krishna's forehead. And then he goes to the gopis of Vrindaban and they offer their dust immediately. And Narada Muni asks the gopis, he says, aren't you afraid to go to hell by giving the dust of your feet to cure Krishna's headache? And their response is that if this gives Krishna's pleasure, if this gives Krishna pleasure, then hell is the highest happiness for us. Why? It's not because they like hell or there's some happiness in hell, but rather Krishna's happiness is their greatest happiness. Right? They feel the most satisfied by that, so therefore it doesn't matter where they are. Prabhupada says the devotee may be in hell or heaven, he is always living in Vaikuntha. Why? Because they're taking that happiness in Krishna's pleasure. So this is a difference of consciousness that we're aspiring to change. That no, I have to, in my practice of bhakti, to change the mindset from thinking of my own interest to Krishna's interest. And my happiness is actually Krishna's happiness. Okay, I think we're over time. Our time is up, so we'll end at this point. Shri Rupa Goswami ki, Harinam Sankirtan ki, Srila Prabhupada ki.